What would you write about if you had to write about something?
I don't know. I mean, if I had to, the first thing that sort of popped in was along the lines of guilt a little bit, which is interesting. But it would probably be about the dynamic and the relationship with my mother-in-law and how challenging and how I do feel guilty about how some of that has played out and how I probably could have handled it better and whatnot.
That's so funny. That's what I would have guessed for you.
Yeah.
I thought to myself, she would probably write about her mother-in-law. And then, that's what you said.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I guess. I mean, and I'm not even sure what I would say about it necessarily. I mean, I would definitely do things differently. I'm not sure that that's what this is really asking.
No, yeah.
And I don't think that's really what it's asking. But maybe if that's what's waiting on me, then maybe it wasn't super authentic at the time.
Right. Oh,
You know
that's
what I mean?
interesting. Yeah. If it's waiting on you, you weren't authentic at the time, whatever's waiting on you happened.
I don't know.
Really
but that's really sort of what comes to me at the moment.
Interesting. I think you are an absolute saint.
Yeah, that's not true.
You are.
Definitely
you are.
not true.
Because it's hard to live. We are not culturally brought up to live in multi-generational households. That's not our culture. There are many cultures where that's the norm. That's not the norm in the white person in America culture that we grew up in. I mean, hope that wasn't politically incorrect, but that is the culture I was brought up in.
Yeah.
And nobody lived with their parents or their parents lived with them. It's really hard. So as guilty as you may feel, I think you should forgive yourself because it's hard. I mean, it's got to be really hard.
Yeah, it's just been a long, interesting journey road, and there's so many things that I personally would do different. I would change the relationship. Even the one my kids have with her, I think has been challenging because of my role. You know what I mean? Like that is unfair.
Interesting.
A little bit.
And your mother-in-law is a lovely person, by the way. She's not a
lovely
tyrant.
human. She's still around. I make it sound like she's dead.
Yeah,
I was like,
she's still in your backyard.
She's still here. She's
in your backyard
next door.
I just saw her the other day.
Yes, she's lovely and fine.
She's lovely, but it's a lot to have someone that you have to care for because she does need a lot of caring for.
Yes.
She needs a lot of managing and caring for. And I think from my experience with you, always has. So it's not like she's just aged into needing that.
Correct.
I think she's needed a lot of management.
Which was one of the biggest challenges. I was unaware of that going into the situation. And had I been more aware of that, I think the situation probably would have been very different. I'm not even sure my husband was fully aware of the level of care in which she needed. And I'm not talking like physical at all in terms of she's
medical,
perfectly healthy. Like we don't have any of those issues, but her inability to manage life is quite stunning, actually, and has dramatically affected our family, our marriage, our family dynamic. So I think we were very naive going into the situation.
Well, hopefully someone...
And here we are.
Well, maybe someone who's listening could go, oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe I should assess in a different way. Like, no, they don't need a pill every 4 hours. No, they don't need to be driven to physical therapy. No, they don't need. But that's really great perspective, I think, if, as I always say in my podcast, to learn is to go, oh, I'm faced with this. Maybe I should ask a different set of questions instead of the ones that are so obvious.
It's funny. One of Stephen's cousins, who is now 35, has 2 children. Her mom was going to move in with them. And she's like, so tell me about it. I was like, I'm going to tell you one thing and one thing only. Like the reality is, do you really understand who your mom is? And she has a very different relationship with her mom and whatever. But I'm like, you really need to understand who she is as a human. How does she react to friends? How does she react to new situations? Like all of that kind of stuff. More so than like her bank account or any of that stuff. All of that is pretty cut and dry and you're going to figure that out. But
it's fact-based.
It's the other piece. You're asking this woman who has lived in the house that you grew up in for 35 years to relocate. She has just left her job. She's relocating to help you with the baby. How is this going to work?
Yeah. How is this going to work?
You know what I mean? Like that's really what you need to understand more so than anything else.
The semantics.
What is your expectation for help? Mine was not what I got.
I think that's true a lot of the time.
I think it is too.
I think that we as people overestimate parents and in-laws because they were parents and in-laws. But I think as a grandparent and at their age, sometimes it's not what you think. And I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that other than our expectation.
Yeah.
Like you were saying earlier.
It's funny when you were talking about trying to cook dinner with Isla. There was, Max was in therapy when he was little. So my mother-in-law would watch Lily, and his therapy ended at 6 p.m. My children, super rigid, had dinner at 5:30 every day. So we would come home, and the expectation was that she would have dinner because I can't possibly make it at that point. Kids are starving, whatever. And that didn't happen. She couldn't manage watching one 18-month-old child and make dinner. And I was like, I can't even process the fact that you can't manage this. You were a mom. You raised 2 children. How do you not do this? So you're right. There is this whole level of expectation where you see somebody in a certain way and then realize, oh, that's not who they really are.
Right.
So.
Or are anymore.
Or anymore. Yeah. Correct.
I mean, sometimes they were, but aren't anymore.